right? Because we're all thinking big. We're all thinking. It's the other thing that Peterson does is he gets you to stop thinking big. Tells you, don't try to save the world. Clean your room. Like, do the things that you can do, that you can participate in. And yeah, to your point, a vision. But again, a vision that's small enough that you can make a difference. Whether you implement it or not, to your point, is not relevant. It's a vision, right? But the church isn't doing that. And, Peterson's going, listen, my message is absurd. I'm telling you to pick up something heavy and carry it for absolutely no reason at all. And yet people are like, yes, it's crazy.
Well, let me ask Mark and Joey then. Now, part of what, say, Father Eric and I major in by virtue of being clergy is, just like Father Eric described, painting the big narrative that makes sense of the shared casserole dishes and the being there for one another. And I think, and so my question is so Father and Eric, what we have in common is that, with our mother's milk or formula, whichever was, whichever was given us before we could decide. But where for you guys is the big picture something that is, did you get that from university? Did you get that from YouTube? Is it unimportant? Is it not salient? Where? Because that's what the church tends to major, that the clergy majors in. A lot of the rest of the church tends to major in the lower stuff below that you talk about, Joey. Or maybe the big picture isn't salient.
I was going to say, can you rephrase that a little bit? Because I'm not seeing what you're calling middle. Like,
why do you see the importance of helping out these young men that are lost? I mean, people don't recognize it because, Joey's always the stern closed door when you've acted up on the Discord server and gotten banned, even though, and I should say that there's a group of people far beyond Joey that makes decisions about those things for the good of the community. But Joey, is front and center in terms of hours devoted to that community. And just as you've said a number of times during this conversation, Joey, you do so because you've seen the wreckage out there of people who are not in the midst of a community. And the reason that Discord server started was because our meetup group said, we have something here that we would like to at least be able to give opportunity for others.
We felt obligated to do it.
Yes.
We, as soon as we came up with the idea of maybe we should share this with others, we told ourselves we kind of have to share this with others. Yeah. What makes that happen? That's a tough question. Again, I'm going to go back to like something major happened in my life and tragic happened in my life, and you guys were there for me. And if I had not had you guys there for me, I don't know what path my life would have taken. It assuredly would have been more negative than the path I feel like I'm currently on. But before that, because I was part of the group before that happened. And so what drew me to that group before? Well, empty success. I've been, for all of the tragedy that I've experienced too, for all the hardships I've had with like mental issues growing up, I have a tremendous amount of blessings in my life. It's not that I didn't work hard. I've put in the multiple 100-hour weeks in a row. I've put in the learning stuff and working on stuff that's too messy that no one else wants to touch. I think I'm very comfortable with my credentials on that side of that. Like, it wasn't just handed to me. I mean, things were handed to me in life, but not everything. And, I took most of the steps in my life are steps that I've taken myself, not steps that somebody gave me a ride. But okay, so here's me. I'm living in the Bay Area. What was I? Probably 26 to like 28 years old, no, somewhere in that range. I can't remember exactly now, but you know, so I'm in my mid to late 20s. I'm doing great by every objective standard, and I am absolutely miserable every single moment of my life. I wake up every single day disappointed that I've woken up. I stay up late every single night because I don't want to go to sleep because I don't want to wake up tomorrow. And that's, you know, that is a level of suffering disconnected from any victimization. That how do you square that circle? How do you put those things together? I don't know. And between Jordan Peterson and a couple other things out there that I accessed, you know, and I found that through Joe Rogan. So give, you know, Joe Rogan credit where credit's due. Joe Rogan introduces a lot of people to a lot of alternatives that otherwise would not be available to them. New ways of thinking about things or seeing things. A lot of them are silly. A lot of them are entertaining. That's fine. Anyhow, so I'm in that period of my life, and what is Jordan Peterson doing for me? Jordan Peterson's coming out of left field, some random guy wearing, you know, suspenders, getting yelled at by a crowd. I always did have an affinity for George Orwell. That's like, everyone knows I don't like to read books because I don't like to give my brain away to other people, but I've read George Orwell, and I really enjoy George Orwell. And for some reason that was that picture. It was that, and it was like, what's the other famous American artist of the guy standing up at church, and
Norman Rockwell?
Yeah, Norman Rockwell, that freedom of speech. I think that's the name of the picture. But like those two things were like, that was what the Jordan Peterson moment was about for me. And that opened my eyes to some things. And then what Jordan Peterson connected was, I have, you know, Mark likes to make fun of me because I'm the objective material reality person, but I have all of the objective material success that I'm looking for. When I put in effort, I had the social success I was looking for in terms of women, in terms of making friends, in terms of finding entertaining things to do. And it's all empty. Why is it all empty? Because the only loads that I'm being asked to carry are the structured ones around my job. No one else was asking anything of me. And if I was going to try and find something where things were asking something of me, I would be coming in at a level not worthy of my attention, because so many of these volunteer organizations, to their credit and to their detriment, bring in new people, not at a level of what they could provide, but at a level of, this is the level where everyone can come in at. Yeah. And okay, yeah, you have put in your time, that's fine. But like, again, I think I'm being fair to myself. Well, I was a reasonably high performer person. I didn't feel like, I felt it was below me to do that kind of stuff. So then what does Jordan Peterson do? He comes along, he points out all of the scientism, the psychology stuff of why does this work? How does this work? Where do you fit into the hierarchy? How does that hierarchy work? And yeah, I mean, that to Mark's point, that's the creation aspect of that journey for me is, oh, I'm not just this disembodied mind that happens to have a flesh, you know, a flesh mech, whatever, fresh robot running around that my mind just happens to control. I am more than just my mind. I am also my body. I am also my friendship. I'm also what I can provide to other people. And getting over that messaging that came into me, like that got into my head of what you provide to other people doesn't matter. Like that's pernicious. That's toxic to men. It's fine it might be fine for women because women have innate qualities to them in the fact that they can bear and feed children. Like that's an innate quality, but men don't have that. Men are, if you remove the value of what men can provide to the world, then men are just children. And children are great, but they're not very useful. And so like, a boy turns into a man, an actual man. And I'm probably not all the way there yet, because my grandma called me out because she says you're not actually an adult until you have your own children. Fair enough, Grandma, you're correct. But but short of having my own children, how do you get out of that boy mindset and into a man mindset? And I think a lot of that is I have to provide something for others, and I have to provide something for others befitting of my abilities. And there's so many gaps between what young boys think they can do because they've watched too many movies. So they think they're going to be the revolutionary everyone's going to rally around them, and then they're going to walk into something and they're going to quote the perfect book passage, and everyone's going to slow clap them like they're the best fucking thing they're the best thing that ever happened. And like, that's not going to happen. Stop being so unrealistic. Clean your room. We have people that hop onto the server, hop onto voice chats, and they, in the background of their thing, like, they clearly haven't changed their shirt in a month. They haven't done their like, you see their unmade bed, and next to their bed there's a giant thing of hand lotion, and that's gross. And like, if you don't have the self-awareness that that's terrible, it doesn't matter how much politics you know, it doesn't matter how much philosophy it knows. There's a reason you're living at home with your mom, and it's because you haven't nailed those basics yet. And the only way you're going to realize that you're not nailing those basics is if you're around other men of different ages, both older than you and younger than you. And if you can provide stuff from your life that's valuable to the guys younger than you, then that's a good feedback that you're doing something good. And if there's guys older than you and they have something that you want, now you have a mentor and a model that you can start following some of the things that they're doing and applying them to your life. Short of that, if you're only hanging out with people who are exactly the same age as you, who only have exactly the same interests as you, who only have exactly the same experiences and hobbies as you, that's useless. You're going nowhere, and you're going to be stuck, and you're going to be stuck forever. And maybe that's fine. If you're happy and you wake up every morning with a smile on your face, more power to you. I don't care how lame anything else I think, like, any of the intricacies of your life. If I think that's boring, if I think that's not cool, whatever, I don't care. If you're happy, then I'm happy for you. But a lot of people are both miserable and stuck in their ways. You know, they need a guy older than them, and not 30 years older than them like their dad. They need a guy that, like James Frazee. You know, he's a Gen Xer. I'm a millennial. We've got a couple of other millennials. We look up to James in a different way than we look up to your generation, Paul, who's like another decade and a half older than James. You're more in that, like, you're more similar to our father. So I've already got a lot of the wisdom that you would have, because, you know, like, we have that generation that we talk to, but we didn't have that in between. So how do we get that in, like, just bringing everything together? And men will do that by themselves naturally, and they don't need that much structure. They don't need this incredible protocol with 30 steps to success and all this other crap. We don't need all that. You just need to sit in a room with other men who have a few things in common with you and start talking. And I think you get it. I forgot what the question even was.
It was great though, Joey. I'll almost clip that. That was awesome.
You nailed it.
What was it? What did I get out of that? Or how did I?
Why did you feel the obligation, and why do you feel the obligation to serve in the way that you're serving through the Discord server and other ways?
Yeah, it was put up or shut up. You know, like, I couldn't continue having an opinion on Facebook about politics if I didn't do anything myself. And I had people, you know, to my credit, I was lucky. I had people in my life that were very good examples of putting up or shutting up, and I was able to copy a lot of what they do. You know, I've told you directly some of the people in my life of whose style of organization I've copied. And this is where we're at. And it's not perfect. It's absolutely not perfect. Let me tell you, it's very messy in the background. It's very stressful in the background. You know, I've made decisions on the Discord server specifically that, like, I'm going to do this, and that's the final decision, and it is not up for review. And people hate that, and I get why they hate that. But also, every other place in your life has review upon review upon review upon review. This place, you come, you have one chance, impress some people, or go find another place similar to ours and impress those people. I really legitimately do want everyone that I don't get along with to be happy, just not around me. But like, but that that's a little bit more inside baseball. The real question, like the real question is like, to be useful and to be wanted, you have to put up or shut up. And how do we create those environments? And like, there's definitely a gap between where Jordan Peterson stops and where the church begins. And I think it's the obligation is on the church to meet people where Jordan Peterson is letting off. And the YouTube algorithm will drive some people to you, and they'll drive some people to all the other folks that we've talked about. And I'm very interested in continuing that conversation, about how to get that gap closer and closer together. And I think that there's an opportunity even for material, objective reality atheists like me to be involved with a community like Living Stones, be involved with community like all the other churches, where I can be both wanted and useful.